thank you guys, Pretty Odd, for doing this interview. I'm really excited about this interview because this is kind of like almost a coming around, a reunion of sorts, because around 5 or 6 years ago, I also shot a documentary about you guys back when you guys were in high school. So what has changed since then? What is the new updates of Pretty Odd?
For real life, what we've been doing is a lot of us went to different colleges. Like I had formed another band in Greensboro called Kicking Tom. Wesley was out in Chapel Hill for a while and had played in a band called Matador for a little bit. And Willow was studying fish sciences in Wilmington for ichthyology. Yeah, and I'm sure these guys have other stories about moving and Emerald Isle and Wilmington and going out to Oregon and all those things. Yeah, tell us a little bit.
Yeah, so I guess I graduated from UNC and I live in Emerald Isle, North Carolina now. And I write software for 40 hours a week.
Yeah, and surfs.
Yes, I'm a surfer now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so
Explains the sunglasses. After all these years, you're still wearing the same sunglasses from the documentary almost 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, right.
So I'll probably drop some surfer lingo on you guys at some point. Just be prepared for that. We can have like a little break in the documentary of, like, this word means this.
Like
Here,
you say the
here's
word
a
and then it
dictionary.
like pause.
Yeah,
it just
pause.
goes.
Yeah.
Here's a dictionary of all the words you need to know when surfing.
Yeah, it's like in the Emperor's New Groove or whatever when he pauses it and like marks on it with marker and stuff. That's what we'll do. Just we'll do that in post.
So what about Pretty Odd? Have you guys been trying to keep that up all the way? Because I mean, obviously they're playing. You guys are playing Triangle Psych Fest, but have you guys like continuously tried to like reform or keep up through college and all that?
Well, I think the one fun thing about us is that a lot of the shows we've been doing, we've taken a step back from doing a lot of larger venues, and actually the Poorhouse show is going to be our first large venue in almost a year or two. And the thing that we've been doing mostly is kind of being known to be unknown and doing house shows and appearing randomly at filthy houses with bathrooms that are disgusting.
And floors that are going to cave in.
Right, yeah. And honestly, like, we just took the time apart, to still grow as friends, grow as companions, and really work around with new ideas. It wasn't until this recent year that Wesley and I had really began writing again and kind of coming up with some new ideas for the band. And as of late, we've probably written maybe about 4 or 5 songs and really enjoyed working with new material.
Yeah, it was pretty casual
Yeah.
for a while. It just kind of coasted, but
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of this band is, like, essentially we are one of the high school bands that, a while ago was covering Rolling Stones, AC/DC, Led Zeppelin songs, and we started off as a band that really wanted to cover rock and roll songs and psychedelic music, and from that we ended up just meeting other musicians that really inspired us and prompted us to write our own material, and from that we just kind of expanded. And the best thing about this band is that it's a group of friends and that it doesn't necessarily always have to constitute being just a musical group. It can be so much more because I love spending time with these guys, whether it's in music or whether it's outside of music, and visiting and doing crafts with like Willow's sister Savannah, or seeing Wesley and playing Dungeons and Dragons or anything. It could be any event. These guys are wonderful to be with. I think the cool thing is that we experienced a lot of like inclusion with music when we were playing shows around Greensboro. Like, a lot of people kind of just jumped in and collaborated with us. Like, we had an organ player who I was really close friends with named Grady Hem, and he worked at a studio out in Greensboro called On Pop of the World, and he knew also a lot of friends of mine that were in the Greensboro Collective, other musical projects like the Corduroys, and he jumped in with us on one show where we did a house show, and he just jammed out on that awesome Wurlitzer he's got from the 60s. And we got a trumpet player who was like this improvisational trumpet player who just kind of jumped in on board too. And I've found that the more music is incorporated with like a band that is kind of loose, the better. The more musical equipment that's added in. It doesn't always have to be perfect. It doesn't always have to sound right. But the inclusion of all musical instruments makes a song what it is, Like if you think about the Beatles or the Beach Boys, like, the things that they did in the studios with the multitudes of musical instruments that they had and the repertoire they had with different musicians allowed them to make these crazy cool masterpieces like Good Vibrations or like She's Leaving Home, all of those things,
Yeah. And so do you kind of see all of these like new branching things as like the next direction for Pretty Odd? Because I've heard that you guys are like talking to Dry Point Records, right?
I've been talking to Matt for a while, and I think one thing that him and I have talked about is maybe recording some of my own material I've been working on for quite a bit. And Pretty Odd, obviously we're not sure exactly when we'll record or what we'll record.
Or if we'll record.
If we'll record. Yeah, but at the same time we have a lot of new material, and one of the best things about it is that no one has a copy of it, so you have to see it live. If you don't see it live, then you don't know it.
Yeah. And that almost makes the music more of an experience at the live show rather than
absolutely
having to like pay for the recordings and then pay for the distribution, pay for the promotion. Now you're just like, you guys want to see it or listen to it, just come to the live show instead.
Honestly, a lot of what Pretty Odd is definitely based upon ourselves is that, we are very much a live band. We've always loved playing shows and being in front of people because, we're not always sure what's going to happen in a show. Like when we play it, like when we do giant jams on Born to Be Wild, like we'll go into other things that I bring into it, like maybe we'll sing Fortune Teller by the Rolling Stones next time, or maybe we'll have Apache going on, or some kind of weird thing in the middle of it, And I think that's the cool thing, is that in music and in performance, so much can be a variable. You don't always know what's going to happen in it.
Right. So if anything, I almost kind of see you guys as a bit like Morning Bells or Eyeball in that kind of case, where both of them had said something like that they're not really in it for like making business or like making money, that they're in it just for the fun of just being with friends, of just making the music and that type of thing.
This band has always been just about fun and not really about business. Like,
we don't make any money.
No, we really don't. And the fun thing though is like, I've always found, some of the event planning and the business side of it to be part of the fun. And, I never meant for it to be like a super big success or anything. And, I always did it just because it's what I enjoyed. It was never really about trying to make the most money or be the most famous, richest band in the whole world. Yeah, we may have pretended at one point that we were living the rock and roll dream, and we always are, This group of friends is the rock and roll dream for me. And I definitely say that. For I think I don't have any better friends than the band that I'm in.
And so you guys are excited to play Triangle Psych Fest and come together with all of these other groups and that type of thing to show what North Carolina has to offer?
Absolutely. I'm excited. I'm sorry I'm doing all the talking, but I'm really excited to be playing with musicians that I've really admired, like Dex Romweber, for example, is a humongous reward for me to, even be playing a show with him. Like, I think that's tremendous, and also to be working with The Veldt, who's been a band in Raleigh since the 80s. I think all of those things. And Billy Warden, for example, like he's been playing since '83 here in North Carolina. And that's tremendous to think that we've had an opportunity to play with such musicians that have been a mainstay in Raleigh, Chapel Hill, Carborough, North Carolina, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's really cool.
And so, since you guys are like not really sure of what the future may hold for Pretty Odd, what do you kind of hope for Pretty Odd? Do you think that it'll just continue as kind of like this collection of like friends coming together to make music, and what happens, or do you guys are you guys like, for the summer we might do this or that type of thing?
I kind of hope that in like 25 years, somebody discovers a bunch of our old, really terrible recordings and then thinks we're awesome, and then we have to do like a reunion tour when we're 50 or something like that.
I agree. I think that would be so fun. That would be a great like pause on things too. Like, we all have different jobs, and we all we're all looking for different things, you know. Like I'm a teacher now. I teach music and art at the Montessori School of Raleigh, and Wesley does coding or software programming. It's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
And Willow's been looking to go to grad school in Miami, and you know, we're all doing different things. We're all going different places, but the thing that I want is that, you know, we always have a place to come back where we can be like, oh yeah, we remember high school. We remember how fun this was, and what a treat it was to be able to come together and hang out, have sleepovers, listen to music, play music, go travel in the woods, you know, go to the creek, go swim. You know, those things is what made my life so important and so special, I think.
There you go. And so what do you kind of see as your place along with all of these other North Carolina artists? Because like one thing that a band way at the beginning brought up as like a possibility is that like North Carolina has all of these different bands and all these different art spaces and all of these different things that almost have roots here in the South, that all of these like more psychedelic blues, rock, what have you, are all kind of coming together to actually show that this is the history that that North Carolina has kind of held all throughout time. So do you guys kind of see yourself as now being a place in that history, especially being a part of this festival? It's a bigger question, but
wow, yeah. I think that history maybe, but probably not. I'm not sure, because the thing is, Andy Warhol had a quote like back in the 60s that in the future that everyone would have their 15 minutes of fame, and I definitely agree on that. I think that when we were in high school at the height of our success, like, we made our name decently known enough that people still see me out in Raleigh and were like, hey, you were part of that band like 4 or 5 years ago, and I was like, yep, I'm still in that band. And they're like, oh yeah, wow, that's really cool. And you know, I've had people come up to me and say like, I used to listen to your band, or like I used to, you know, see you when you played Sadlax Heroes when that place was still open, and I was like, yeah, that's right, you know, that was me, and it still is me. So I think that in someone's mind, I guess we are a part of history, but we never wanted to be a part of history that was monumental or super recognizable. I mean, I think it's cool that we have enough of a following of friends that will say like, hey, you know, we enjoy your music, or hey, like, we like to showcase your music to our other friends, and kind of keep it in small circles rather than, you know, being a band that plays the Red Hat or, you know, flies to Germany tomorrow. As much as that would be cool, but you know, I've always been happy with the success and our spot in history, I guess.
Because again, it's more about the music.
It's
the
yes,
friendship, not really about we're, like you said, flying to Germany or making the money or anything like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's actually all the questions I could actually think about. I'm really stoked to see you guys again at the Triangle Psych Fest, especially since, like I said, it's like a reunion, and yeah, thank you guys for doing this interview.
Thanks, Travis.
As Pierce likes to sing.
Reunion tour.
Reunion tour coming up.